Underdog Daily, BadgeBros, more appropriately, just one bro today. I was holding out hope. I was holding my breath that Nez might be able to join us, but he's still doing family stuff. Parents in town for Christmas there. But we're going to do it. We're going to do the definitive preview. I was waiting to see some GMs in the chat before I went live here. Definitive preview for the Battle Royale stuff. It's crazy to think we only got 3 main slates left, and week 18 is always a little wonky. The cash game king will be out in full force. So it won't be your traditional Battle Royale week. So, I only got 3 more cracks at this to get a BR title. This will be back-to-back years without a BR title. This be heartbreaking for me if I can't get it done in these upcoming weeks. So I'm going to be pushing hard this week, especially with Christmas around the corner for next week and whatnot. This is going to be a big one for me. And I like the slate. I like the slate in general. Did a big walkthrough of it. I'll share my thoughts on it here in a second. Maybe we'll do some pick'em based stuff. Lay of the land for the rest of the week here. I'm going to run 2 shows tomorrow. Because I think I owe it, or we owe it to the members to give them some proprietary info. So I'm going to do the Primetime Palooza behind the paywall tomorrow. I'm going to run 2 shows back to back. It'll probably be like an hour and 45 minutes or an hour and an hour. So I think it'll be Hoops first, Primetime Palooza second, Hoops for everyone, Primetime Palooza for members only. So that's kind of what I've landed on. So hope you guys like that idea. And then off and on the clock, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday, and Nez will be back for that one. And then a no strip Nez, I am told, on Friday night there, some playoff stuff, playoff best ball stuff, and some goal line stand stuff. So gonna be fun. Gonna be a fun week here with a bunch of content, and then we will kind of figure out our way through next week with Christmas and the holidays and stuff like that. We will still do some stuff Monday, probably Monday for sure. Tuesday maybe pending. But yeah. GMs, I'm seeing everybody rolling in. Appreciate you guys being here. Jump Free alluding to the PGA sit and goes. I am the sit and go king after last night. 2 big takedowns in those $25 ones that we did on stream there. And we got that PGA meta now. We got that PGA mindset. I actually did see Davis did something with Pat Mayo. I don't know if they touched on the contest, but he did the take cast with him. So interested to go back and listen to that one as one of the definitive PGA thought leaders in our space. Couple things. It looks like pods are advancing right now because my balance just went up ever so slightly. So I think it's kind of working through on the back end. One evergreen reminder: don't get fooled by the big number, the big green number beside your advancing teams right now. I guess I can just show you as we go here. The live best ball here, you guys can see. Oh, it's already advancing. Okay. Well, this green number on the right-hand side beforehand that you would have seen, you're only going to be paid out a portion of it because you were already paid out a portion of it the week before. So just have to remind everybody of that. I know there's a push notification that went through, but as many times as we say it and talk about it over and over again, someone's still inevitably going to ask. So have to lead with that one there. And looks like pods are going to be pushing through. 3 BBMs left, 1 Dalmatian, 1 Pug, 2 BadgeBros Brawls. Kind of unfortunate. What is that? 4, 5, 6, 7, about 10%. Because I had 78 advancing teams total across all the contests. Kind of crazy that we looked at that the puppy and the slow puppy yesterday. I had like 25 of each or something, and get no bullets through in either of those. But such is the variance associated with best ball in these playoff sprint style contests. I got to give one shout out before we move into the football stuff. That was the results of yesterday. Your boy, puck guy through and through, came back in the streets. I did 18 of the main slate. Did 12 of the late slate there. Almost got myself the empty netter. But our guy Car Park, who gave us all the dirty hands, clean money merch from Troll Co. takes it down. So nice to see. Truly goated leaderboard here. I was a 1v1 versus the king, Sam Olsen. Yeah, that makes you feel good when you haven't been in the puck streets recently and you go 1v1 versus the king. And then the toe drag Tuesday. It's always nice. Now Ricky's up here. Brett Boy's up here. Car Park's up here again. Shout out to Jay Denver, 1971 there, who took it down for the 2K. Nice structure yesterday. Macklin, Celebrini, funny story. I heard this last night. We were talking about him in the dressing room after we played puck last night and just kind of how good he'd been and whatnot. And my buddy sold a table to his mom the other day on Facebook Marketplace, and she rolled in and saw the hockey equipment in the garage. Was like, "Oh, do you play?" And then he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm actually got a game tonight." Yada yada. And and she goes, "Oh yeah, my son plays too." Oh, okay, cool, bye. And then he looked her up on Facebook after, and he was like, "Holy fuck, that's Macklin Celebrini's mom, first overall pick from this year's draft." Dangle After Dark, big shout out to a member of the community, Best Ball Noah, aka the Sock Muffin, doing work here on the double up here. 1500, scooping the top of the leaderboard. Kyle Connor, Ulmark, Celebrini, yada yada. Just had to give some love to Puck Bros because it was the only thing going on the slate yesterday, or on the site yesterday. And you guys filled it in a big way. I saw some people jumping in there that normally wouldn't jump in hockey. So super nice to see. Super cool to see that we can fill puck nice and early for big price points when there's, not the distraction of hoops. All right, let's do it. Let's bounce back and forth between Unabated and the platform. It's going to be, I guess, the major talking point on the slate regarding ADP to start is going to be the conversation around, there's the main slate, Jahmyr Gibbs. So Jahmyr Gibbs, for the uninitiated, he started with an ADP around 17 when the contest dropped on Monday. Now, the main contest is only, let's see here. Main contest is only 12% full, and a lot can change between now and Sunday in terms of projection and volume and game conditions and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not running away from the Jahmyr Gibbs stuff. I'm not scared to click Jahmyr Gibbs if we still think he's a good play and warrants this ADP. And I'm going to poke holes in a whole bunch of ADPs at the top here, just from the drafts that I was doing this morning. But this Jahmyr Gibbs pick right now, I think it just has to be known that, 12% of the player pool, of that 12%, let's maybe call it 6% of entries. Of those 6% of entries, only one out of six can have Jahmyr Gibbs in it. I mean, we're going to be dealing with a fraction of lineups that have him in the third round. And I imagine he started getting steamed like really early. So you're going to see some GMs with him in the third. You shouldn't be shocked by it, but I don't think it's any deterrent on this slate. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a little Craig Reynolds mix in, use some goal line stuff there. We've seen it in years past where Craig Reynolds has fallen into the end zone in this backfield mix. Yeah, I don't love Soldier Field this time of year for footing and for weather concerns either. So, I mean, you can poke holes in it. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to project amazing. His pick'em stuff is going to look really nice. I believe it was like 100 total yardage, that sort of thing. But yeah, just the first nugget that you have to be mindful of in your constructions is a fraction of the player pool will show up with him in the third round. So you got to do something to get a little different versus those teams. Yeah. Anyways, just putting it out there for everyone to know. Car Park gave you a nice shout out already, buddy. Good job in the puck streets last night. Best Ball Viper, were you not listening? My dog? I just laid out the whole plan for the next 2 days. Primetime Palooza is paywall only tomorrow. We will do that. There's 3 games on that slate instead of the normal 2. Pretty fun slate. Yeah. All right. Okay. let's move to Unabated. Let's talk about some game by game stuff. The aforementioned Primetime Palooza incorporates these first 3 games here. Pretty fun slate there. I'm definitely going to have some thoughts there on QJ Q-Tag right now, and Jaleel McLaughlin left early last game. Doesn't bode entirely well for that Broncos backfield, so there might be a little bit of value to there. Obviously, the big Mahomes narrative. Do they use him against a team that has a good pass rush? Yada, yada. We will talk through that. Steelers look inept on offense without George Pickens. There's your lay of the land for the Primetime Palooza. We will talk through it all in the future. Okay, Bengals, Browns. We have, you know what? There was one more macro thing that I wanted to talk through. We are pushing into weather concern parts of the season, funky lineups and usages from teams that are non-contenders. Like I imagine we don't get Alvin Kamara this week, for instance, where they've re-signed him long-term. There's no reason to push him. Let's see what we have in Henry Miller, that kind of thing. So that's the kind of stuff that's on my radar right now. The other one that's on my radar, and ETR usually does a really good job of this. They haven't put it up yet because it is a little early, but I was just doing some searching around the webs. I don't know who Prop Tails is, but this was one of the tweets that I found on it. NFL incentives. They could muddy the waters a little bit because we don't know the intentions of coaching staff. Sorry, wait a second. Did I fuck this up? Primetime Palooza's tonight? There's a Wednesday night game tonight? Is this the one that everyone in the Discord was trying to tell Numi about for pods? That there's a Wednesday night game tonight? Oh, I might have fucked that up, guys. Okay, maybe we're going to do Primetime Palooza right after this. No. Okay. Best Ball Viper. No. Okay. I'm right. Everybody else is wrong as usual. Okay. Yes. No. There's no football game tonight. That Broncos game's tomorrow. Okay, guys. Yeah. No game tonight. Okay. Yeah. You thought it was Thursday. This guy is living off the high of making 300K. Now he's derailing the show out here. Come on, Best Ball Viper. I got it dialed. Don't worry, man. In your words, not mine. Borderline genius. That your words, not mine. I got it. I got it figured out. I planned it all out. I mapped it. It's next week that has the Wednesday game. All right, here we go. Back to the program as scheduled. Yeah. So just some stuff to think through. One that actually pertains to that Primetime Palooza slate is this Cortland Sutton. I mean, they're going to be playing. They're fighting for playoffs. They're fighting for seeding in the playoffs. It doesn't really matter, but some coaches, it does matter for these teams that aren't contending. The Mike Evans one will loom large. The Tony Pollard one is interesting because he's hurt, and Tajay Spears looks like a decent little scroll the F down with Mason Rudolph playing this week. Tony left that game for a bit, then came back. He was a true game time decision, didn't practice at all last week. There's a chance Tony Pollard doesn't go this week, and Tajay Spears is on our radar as a scroll the F down gem this week. If I'm forecasting what Pete's video might entail there. So like this Tony Pollard one, it could work in the inverse where Titans aren't playing for anything. Why do they want to give him more money by playing him through an injury? You know what I mean? So the way we think about it is, the way we think about it and the way we dissect it is interesting, but I think it just should be on our radar. And as I alluded to, ETR will do like a full breakdown of that. They usually do it for like week 17 and 18, I believe. So yeah. Back to Unabated. Let's talk about some game by game stuff. This Browns game. So obviously we got the transition to DTR. This is a 47 game total, 7.5 by way of the Bengals. Bengals do have a glimmer of hope to make the postseason here. It is it's very, very thin. They need the Chargers to lose out. They need the Broncos to lose out. And then they need to win out. It's so thin. Underdog tweeted it yesterday, but it is leave a light on that they're going to be playing and going full bore this week at the very least. I know there's a lot of speculation of will T. Higgins stop playing because he doesn't have a contract and that sort of thing. We'll cross that bridge in the next 2 weeks, I guess. But for this week, they'll be a wheels up right here. Bengals looked like they were going to break the slate last week before Josh Allen went Josh Allen, and before they threw Will Levis threw 2 pick sixes. Actually, one that wasn't actually a pick six. Got dropped at the goal line. One of 2 touchdowns that was dropped at the goal line last week. Him and Jonathan Taylor. But yeah, it was just very. Yeah, it was very unfortunate for the Bags last week that Burrow just didn't have to do anything in the second half of that game. So the Browns stuff. No more Nick Chubb for the rest of the year. Broke his foot. Unfortunate to see. That was a nice comeback for him. Didn't look like the same player in any regard, but it was a good story because he's so beloved in Cleveland. Yeah, that really puts a damper on his future there. Chase Brown continues to have one of the best roles in all of football. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they're going to be top end picks all week long. I think Chase should be WR1. I mean, leading in touchdowns, leading in yardage, these kind of stats, especially in what could be a lost season for the Bengals, do matter. Like these guys are going to keep chasing them. They seem like that archetype of individuals. Yeah. Anyways, I'm not sure the Browns can do enough to push game environment in this one. With DTR at quarterback, I'm most likely just kind of full fading the Brown side. Njoku has the Q tag. Jerry Jeudy goes drafted at some frequency right now just because people are box score watching, but he's kind of buried in the 6th round of 6-person drafts. I'm going to have no Browns this week, even though I like the Bengals stuff. I'm fine without playing it without a bring back. The 27 points, like 27 of the 47 points are coming from the Bengals side in terms of implied team total. So yeah, I'll be playing a lot of Bengals this week again. But that's nothing new because the pass rate over expectation has been nice. They're densely concentrated. They're one of the most projectable offenses, period. And that's really good for fantasy just across the board. And they're talented. So, I mean, I will be playing a lot of Bengals again this week. Not overly concerned about the weather in Cincinnati right now, especially compared to some other spots. All right. Next big, this is going to be kind of a theme of the show. Quarterback changes right now, quarterback movement. We're going to see 2 new quarterbacks here. Well, not new. Drew Lock is, new, then old again, then new again. That kind of puts a damper on the Neighbors stuff because it was pretty fun to see Tim Boyle come out at the tail end of that ball game and just pepper. Obviously, they're going against the Ravens, pass funnel, yada yada. Last week, he comes in halfway through the game and he just peppers Malik Neighbors to the tune of a pass interference, a touchdown, and 10 receptions. We got that slider home last week. Unfortunately, it was paired with, I believe, Derrick Henry, which was unfortunate. Just didn't go right there. But then the Falcons side, man, I really like Bijan this week. Some stats that a whole bunch of people were on Twitter were retweeting there and was talked about on both Stats vs. Film and on the ETR stuff was the fact that Bijan Robinson on first down or running backs in general on first down for the Falcons took the ball 23 out of 24 first downs for them. They were really hiding Kirk Cousins last time out. I hope we get a little less conservative game plan here with the quarterback change to Michael Penix. Speaking of Michael Penix, how about the narrative flip right now? It's pretty crazy. The narrative coming in to the NFL draft was Michael Penix was journeyman, battled through injuries. He was too old because he had stayed through a COVID year, stayed through a senior year. Then they run it out, go to the national championship. Doesn't have the greatest performance in those 2 playoff games or the 1 playoff game to lead to the national championship. Then the national championship itself, he was kind of like not the focal point. The wide receivers kind of did more. Dylan Johnson did more on the ground, like that sort of thing. Then now all of a sudden we come to the league and we see Jalen Polk not deliver. We see Rome not really delivering, whether that's quarterback scheme, whatever. Maybe it's a Rome thing. Who knows? McMillan's been hurt and then basically just kind of come to life in the last 2 weeks. And the narrative coming into draft was, oh yeah, this journeyman quarterback was carried to a national championship as just a ball distributor with the lazy Tua comps and it was all the wide receivers doing the work. Now the narrative is fully flipped, and now that we've seen these guys in the league, they're like, well, hey, maybe Michael Penix was really good, and he was the one who pushed all these guys to be that talented, to be that next piece in the NFL. So it's very interesting to just see the pendulum swing on him, despite him not even playing a fucking snap this year. So really intrigued to see what it looks like this week rather. I'll be playing some Drake London. I will not be playing some Kyle Pitts. I know we saw one of his better games in a long time, but that's not saying much. It was 4 catches for like 34 yards. I will not be playing Pitts this week. I will play a decent amount of Bijan. I like it irregardless of quarterback. I like it because of the matchup. I like it because, this team total for the Falcons, quarterback change, and their team total is a half point off of the Bengals, right? Like, think about that. 26.5 because of how putrid the Giants have looked. And the Giants got absolutely cooked last week by the Ravens. The Ravens made a ton of mistakes, turned over the ball. They actually didn't run the football that very, very well with Derrick Henry, and they still blew the brakes off them, right? So I'm excited for Penix this week, but I think so is everybody. And it's reflected in the ADP of London and Bijan. But that being said, I have more faith, let's call it, in Bijan right now at like that 4-5 pick than I do potentially Saquon, who might be fighting through a Q tag all week here. We'll get to the Saquon conversation in a second. Giants. Malik Neighbors is the only guy you can play, and I don't really even want to play him. I might play him as a bring back, but everyone will funnel ownership to him as a bring back. So playing him as a one-off, fine. He's been a monster. He goes 5 for 50 as a floor every single week, regardless of quarterback. It's been truly an incredible rookie season that's been kind of overshadowed by how bad they've been and how much, bullshit drama there's been there. But him and Brian Thomas Jr., man, like, they deserve all the props in the world for putting up the numbers that they're putting up in the situations in which they are in as rookies right now. Lions and Bears. I'll be the first to remind people that the Bears, the last time that they looked halfway decent was against the Lions on Thanksgiving. They did nothing in the first half, and then they pushed game in the second half there. Ended up with like 3 through the air for Caleb, I believe. In that one, we'll go back here. Check out the Bears. Keep an eye on the Roschon Johnson stuff. Nobody's touching the Bears here unless you're in the 12 persons, and even in the 12 persons, it's kind of gross. The Swift roll, looked pretty nice last week, as we alluded to. We talked about how, no Roschon at the goal line. He just didn't get the opportunities because the team was inept and did not look that great until literally garbage time when Keenan Allen found the end zone there on the short slate. But man, these roles have been really solid for both Keenan Allen and for DJ Moore. Using DJ Moore in like the screen games and the dump off stuff. I will be playing Contrarian Bears this week just because of how hurt and how banged up Detroit is, how decent they looked last time going against Detroit, and then a whole bunch of man coverage with guys off the street. It doesn't seem like a great scheme going against talented wide receivers here. I know Caleb gets sacked a billion times a game. Offensive line has been bad. I'll do some skinny stacking of it just for contrarian path sake. But yeah, I don't love the Soldier Field thing. I don't love the outside thing. So keep an eye on the weather there in terms of like footing. Lions. Yeah, we had the Gibbs conversation. Just know what you're going up against with the Gibbs stuff. Oh, here's a good shout from Jack. Swift had a touchdown called back because the player didn't report. That's a ineligible lineman, I guess, or something like that when they brought in the 7th lineman. Something so good. Good little nugget for him. Probably still only in play in 12-person drafts, but the role is solid. If you get Roschon Johnson back this week, he has a Q tag right now. Just monitor the status this week. He had one of the strongest goal line rolls for like a long time. So I am fearful of the touchdown equity, even if they do get to the goal line when it comes to Swift as well. So yeah, just be mindful of the status associated with him. Okay, cool. Titans and Colts. I mean, Titans showed some fight last week. A little bit of fight in the beginning there against the Bengals. I thought Tony Pollard looked good on the first drive until he re-aggravated, and then I thought Tajay Spears looked great in the tail end of that ball game. Josh Norris is a big proponent of Tajay Spears, and I thought I saw it too. I mean, I was like, oh yeah, this guy can play. So I think Tajay Spears will be a fun scroll the F down, especially with Mason Rudolph at the quarterback, more of a propensity to drop the ball off, to dump it off in that short kind of screen passing kind of game. And that's where we can really separate with Tajay Spears is as a receiver, right? So that one will be fine. Calvin Ridley definitely in play as a scroll the F down piece, but that's kind of all I'll touch on the Titans side. Colts side, Jonathan Taylor would have looked a lot better if he had added that touchdown, but he dropped it right at the goal line there as he was crossing the plane. But he still had 21 carries for 100 yards in what's not a great matchup on paper against the Broncos. So I'm fine going back to Jonathan Taylor when Jonathan Taylor is cheap again here, but this is only 42.5 total. Colts are 4.5 at home, at least. You could say that. Anthony Richards, QB 10 right now. I will always enjoy clicking Anthony Richardson, but yeah, man, it hasn't looked great in recent memory. But he's getting some weapons back. He got Josh Downs back last week, so there is that. Okay, give me 1 second here to do that and that. Okay, cool. All right. Cardinals and Panthers. I mean, what more can you say about Trey McBride? He just has one of the best roles in all of football, let alone at the tight end position. And even in the games, completely game script agnostic. He can just give you basically a baseline of 14 targets a week. It's wild, but he is yet to find the end zone, despite them designing stuff for him to find the end zone. If there was ever a time to find the end zone, Carolina has got to be it, right? This has to be the spot. Cardinals are fighting for their playoff life, though their chances look slimmer and slimmer by the day. Both them and the Seahawks are in big must-win spots this week to catch up to the Rams now, who are a game ahead. So, man, I can't quit the Kyler McBride stuff. I can't quit James Conner this week. I mean, we talked about the splits last week with Rico, where it was all running back splits and efficiency splits against other teams, and then you juxtapose them to the Panthers one. I'm paraphrasing from what we went through actually with the metrics last week because I don't have them in front of me, but it was basically a league average rusher against the Panthers turns into an extra 2.1 yards per carry or something insane. So I mean, you do that, you layer on the fact that they gave James Conner a new contract. Trey Benson's on IR. DeMarco's on IR. DJ Dallas is going to be the backup this week. I mean, this is just wheels up Connor game in so many regards as they fight for playoff position, right? It just looks like absolute, everyone was on the Cardinals stuff last week. It was stone cold chalk on Redacted. People are going to have a queasy feeling about going back to Kyler again. Nobody ever has a queasy feeling about clicking on McBride, but yeah, I will be going back to the well here, and that will include Marvin Harrison. I know it's been bad. I know he can't separate. I know he doesn't look fast, but he did get the Christian Gonzalez treatment last week, and that's a real thing. We talked about it a lot this year about the X receivers that he's done work on, and then that narrative kind of got sloughed under the radar for 2-3 weeks, and then all of a sudden it was back again in full force against Marvin Harrison there. All right, Jets and Rams. This one has big playoff implications for the Rams. if they win this ball game and Seattle, ends up without Geno and loses, and the Niners lose, which would be curtains on their season, and the Cards lose, I mean, it would be. Panthers are frisky right now. I guess I kind of glossed over Panthers there. I should have said more about the Panthers. Bryce has looked capable, and I think they'll be without Xavier Legette this week. Adam Thielen just comes out and does 5 and 50 every single week, and then sometimes cracks that 100. He's got to 70 a couple times there. Jalen Coker had the big explosive 80-yard play, but Norris noted on the Stats versus Film there that outside of that big 80-yard explosive play to Jalen Coker, the majority of it kind of just didn't look great. Yeah, but I'll play some Chuba this week. Won't be overweighted. He goes in about the 4th or 5th round most of the time, but I will go back to the Chuba well despite last week. I mean, he hit his receptions pick'em that we put out there. He hit it in the first quarter. Like, it was crazy. Yeah. Maybe in the 12 persons, you could do a cheeky Bryce skinny with your last 2 picks. Don't think it'll be necessary, but this one does have slop it up of the week potential right now. I mean, 47 is kind of a high team total, and the teams are maybe a little too good to be in the slop it up territory. But if we do build out like a game environment one, I could see us going to this one on off and on the clock on Friday. Rams and Jets. So the big question here is, do we believe what we're seeing from the Jets right now? Can the Jets run it back with just peppering Davante Adams, who basically did nothing in the first half of that ball game, and then in the second half just goes entirely nuke for 180 yards and 2 scores and breaks the slate with 38 fantasy points, and all of a sudden you needed New York Jets doubles and stuff on redacted, and you needed Davante Adams no matter what on our site. But yeah, it was wild to see. We talked about it on Friday, man, and we built that sliders pick'em that got home that just like narratively based that if they're not going to run it back next year, and this is the last kick at the can, that Rodgers is going to do some shit like this, and he's just going to try his best to pepper his guy, and they're going to go out guns blazing. And that's kind of fun for fantasy. I don't think you can touch the backfield. I mean, I know, I was going to say Braylon Allen. I know Breece Hall fell into the end zone last week, but he hasn't looked the same player since the injury stuff the last like 3 weeks there. It's a more of a rotation than we would care to admit right now. I think they're going to try and see what they have in other guys opposed to pushing Breece Hall to the brink like we saw last year. Like last year, they were completely out of it for no reason. They gave Breece Hall like 30 plus carries in those tail end ball games of the season. I don't think we're going to see something like that. I think this is going to be the Rodgers, Adams, Garrett Wilson show for the remainder of the year. Just let them air it out, let them have some fun, ride off into the sunset, and we'll reevaluate the quarterback position next year. So I do think the Jets can be kind of fun for fantasy. They'll always play slow. They'll always bleed clock because that's who Rodgers is. But like Rodgers ran all of a sudden last week, which just kind of shows that, I mean, to me, it kind of just illustrates that he wants to ball, like he wants to go out in a blaze of glory. Like the fact that, we got a 40-year-old quarterback who ran for, I think it was like 35 or 40 yards this week. I mean, crazy. Rams side, I wouldn't read too much into last week's game. Short week, divisional opponent, bad weather. I mean, not terrible weather, but not good weather. 2 coaches who know each other very well. Puka still gets home. I guess that's the biggest takeaway. Kyron still almost kind of gets home, finds himself 13 fantasy points. Rams are super condensed. It is take Puka at the tail end of the first round, early second round. It is take Kyron as long as he's there in the third because he's going to project better than that when the models come out this evening. So those two, over and over again. Kupp at his suppressed price tag. He could have had a big, long touchdown last week. Stafford just didn't see him. He was running free 60 yards downfield there. I will be playing this ball game. I will be playing the Rams pieces, but I won't play it with Stafford. I don't think Stafford possesses the ceiling to win in the 6-person contest, even if you double stack. He's just shown that his ceiling of like 304 with no rushing upside, no whatever, is just not going to be enough to get it done on the 6-persons. So if you want to do like Allen plus Puka, like that makes a lot of sense to me, where you run like naked Josh Allen, but then you run like Puka and Kyron and you play the Rams through another game environment, or you do, that makes a lot of sense to me. You could also do it with Jalen Hurts. You can do it with Anthony Richardson. Playing naked quarterback in the 6-persons, especially when you're playing Rams pieces, makes a lot of sense to me anecdotally. I imagine it would S-word better than trying to force Matt Stafford into that stuff. Eagles and Commanders. This is an interesting one in terms of playoff implications for the division there. I don't think the Commanders can win the division at like 8-5. But the Saquon narrative is big here, because if you think the Lions are decimated right now, right, which they are, if you think the Lions are decimated right now, and you go, we're 12-2, being the Eagles, right? Let me just confirm here on the Commanders are 9-5, not 8-5. So misspoke. They basically they would need the Eagles to lose out. Then they'd need to win this ball game and then hold a tiebreaker. I mean, the Eagles are looking every bit of the best team in football right now. 10-game winning streak. We just saw Jalen Hurts do it through the air when all the knocks were, can he do it through the air? They've just been running behind this good offensive line, yada, yada. Okay, let's talk about how this game lines up for them. They're 12-2. Lions are 12-2. Lions are fighting the division versus the Vikings, who are also 12-2, though the Lions hold the tiebreaker, right? So this is kind of like some playoff best ball concepts layered on top of how we would think about the daily lens. And it's like, if you're the Eagles, man, this is balls to the wall to get the bye, is it not? Like I imagine Saquon's going to open up with a DNP today, right? Then we're going to have a Q tag on Saquon on the site. And I think capturing some of those Saquon falls in the Q tags is going to be smart. And taking him at 101 right now doesn't feel smart. I think that was kind of like my long-winded explanation of where I'm going with this, is that I think the Eagles are going to play hard, play to win, play to get the bye. And that will be holding Saquon not like accountable, but it'll be like, if Saquon can play, he's playing. Now, can we expect a full workload and that sort of stuff? Time will tell as we get to Friday to talk through that, because they are going to have to take their foot off the gas a little bit at some point in time here, especially when the yards before contact created by the Eagles offensive line is the best in football, right? Like their running backs aren't getting touched until like, I think it was 3.2 yards, which sounds impossible. That sounds crazy. But yeah, I think you can get by with like a Gainwell and Shipley game mixed in here somewhere. Will it be this week? I don't think so, because I think this game matters too much, but that'll be predicated on Saquon's health. So we will see what happens with the Saquon stuff after he came out of last week's ball game, and then was on the sideline, and then he did come back in, but then kind of sat out when the game was out of reach in the end there. And I think Gainwell could be a really fun scroll the F down if we do end up getting that, just because of how good the offense is, how good the offensive line is, yada, yada. Anyways, a little gal brain, a little long-winded, but just kind of my macro thoughts on the Eagles there. Grant Calcaterra as a scroll the F down, tight end skinny stack. You could do worse. But outside of that, I'm probably just playing this game on the Eagles side. Running back, Hurts up there at QB2. Obviously like AJ Brown a lot more than Devonta Smith, but both are fine as skinny stacks. Both scored last week. Feels like a spot that we were attacking earlier in the year was Commander's secondary. A little less so now with the Marshawn Lattimore addition there. probably going to get Jonathan Allen back this week too. He opened his practice window, which just kind of like helps that defensive line as well. So yeah, just talking through that stuff. Commanders side, man, they are a little more concentrated in recent memory than they had been at the beginning of the season. Beginning of the season, we were playing like Jaden Daniels, and then we didn't know which running back to play because there were Q tags and they were rotating. We didn't know which tight end to play because we thought Cynic could be a thing, and we thought, all this sort of stuff, right? Anyways, now it really seems like if you can just get that skinny stack of Scary Terry and Jaden Daniels in the 3rd and 4th round, go for it. But this is not the Eagle. This is not a good Eagles matchup for opposing wide receivers. This is not. I think. Oh shit! What's I can't find the stat right now. It's like 1 or none opposing wide receiver touchdowns scored against them in the last 4 weeks or something like that. I'll find it. Don't quote me on that one. I'll find it and I'll put it in the Discord after. That one was actually like kind of like a shocking one. Yeah, and then Brian Robinson right now is a scroll down. Obviously it's tough to run against the Eagles. It hasn't been a good spot to run against the Eagles, but if he's the guy getting the workhorse workload, because the Commanders haven't played like a quote unquote like real ball game where we've looked at it on paper in the last couple of weeks and been like, this one is not them being, a touchdown plus favorite. Like this is actually like them as dogs. So I'll be interested to see what the Brian Robinson workload looks like. Though last week he saw his best workload of the season, so there's something to be excited about. Vikings and Seahawks. Mad implications for playoffs here. As we alluded to, Vikings 12-2, chasing that division. Kind of crazy, man. The season in which the Lions are having, and everybody's like, oh, Lions this, Lions that. And then you look up and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, the Vikings are 12-2 as well. Pretty wild. Anticipating a little bit of like rain and stuff in this ball game. Pacific Northwest this time of year, we got dumped on last couple days there. Forecast not looking amazing for this one, which could put a damper on some of the pass game stuff. Obviously, the big health tags here will be Geno's Q tag and Ken Walker's Q tag. If we get no Ken Walker, I know it's not a great matchup against the Vikings. They have been one of the best. Them and the Eagles, 2 of the best teams. Them, the Eagles, and the Ravens, 3 of the best teams against the ground in all of football. I'm still going back to the Sharps well if we get it. For my best ball bag's sake, I kind of hope Ken Walker takes another day off, or another week off rather. Yeah, I will be going back to the sharp stuff. The JSN role has been amazing, even with Sam Howell for whatever it was, 14 pass attempts or something last week there. The role has been so strong, and that short ADOT stuff, because the O-line's been we talked about how O-line in terms of run blocking and yards before contact for the Eagles is number 1 in the league. Last in the league is Seattle. And it's crazy how efficient both Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet have been, knowing that. But what it's led to in some instances is just been JSN getting absolutely peppered. Tyler Lockett is a distant memory of the past here. Anyways, bad offensive line play coupled with good run stop and good pass rush on the Vikings side means to me, if we get Geno, we get ball out quickly, we could see like a 10+ target JSN game, especially if it plays to the spread and the Seahawks happen to be trailing in this game. So better JSN spot than DK spot, but both are kind of scroll the F downs right now, pending, largely because of the health of Geno being up in the air. Other side of the ball, Vikings, Aaron Jones does it again last week. TJ Hawkinson is just like a mean projection monster over and over again, like 5 for 50, 5 for 50. Give me my 7 points in the tight end position and then hope he scores a touchdown. And then Justin Jefferson should be going as wide receiver 2 on this slate. Him and Addison. I haven't seen Addison go in a draft yet, so Addison as a scroll the F down feels good. Sam Darnold doubles, that sort of thing. Darnold goes as QB7. I will be underweight that number. I think the Seahawks defense is good. It's funny how the Seahawks season pendulum has kind of like shifted, where they were a super high pass rate over expectation team in the early going. They were going to win with speed, tempo, offense, passing heavily, scoring touchdowns. That's how they were going to win. And now, as they've dealt with injuries on the offensive side of the ball and their defense has gotten healthier, this you can see the moldings of Mike Macdonald on this offense, or on this defense rather, that he's really getting them to gel in recent memory. So yeah, didn't go well against the Packers last week, and this is by no stretch of the imagination a get right spot, but this is a very, very important game for them. So this one just looks like a nice, good afternoon football game. The fantasy implications of it, the price tag on some of them will be a little high, but I think you're going to want to get to your Jeffersons. You're going to want to get to some scroll the F down Addison, some scroll the F down JSN. And then if we get the backfield unto itself with the Seahawks, you're probably going to want a piece of that Sharps stuff there. All right. Patriots, Bills. Not much to say on the Patriots side other than please, Drake May, do enough to lift the shoulders, put this team on your back so that we can get a good game environment here, so that you get some good back and forth ball, because 14-point favorites for Josh Allen, who I remind everybody has broken the record for fantasy points scored in back-to-back weeks in the history of fantasy, in 2 consecutive weeks. That was poorly phrased. My bad. But highest team total on the slate for the Bills. Bills are absolutely rolling right now. Bills, really upped their chances of getting a bye now. Currently held by the Chiefs, but Chiefs have a tough ball game on Saturday there, and may or may not be without Patrick Mahomes. This could be a big spot for the Bills to get a win. Chiefs get a loss with Carson Wentz at the helm, and we could see a little flippening of the AFC bye slot there, and then obviously setting up home field to run through Buffalo in the snow would be all sorts of good for Josh Allen and the boys there. The Bills, in terms of like how to get different with your Josh Allen teams and stuff, I'm going back to the well on some of the stuff I talked about last week, was doing the James Cook stack with him. It's going to be really hard to play whack-a-mole on the pass catchers, but if you want to go that route, I think nobody's going to touch Amari Cooper this week, but Amari Cooper was a rotational player last week. I will bring up the snap count data, but when Keon Coleman came back and Dalton Kincaid came back, it really came at the expense of Amari Cooper, which was kind of surprising, because that looked like a game that it looked like, versus Detroit, tight ball game. Like it looked like a prove it to the world game that you are a full-fledged Super Bowl contender and you would want to throw your best at them. It didn't look like a spot like, this is where we want to save Amari Cooper for like the postseason. You know what I mean? So that was very strange to see Amari Cooper basically go from, it wasn't that crazy now that I look at it, because Amari Cooper on the 14 target game, he still only played 53% of the snaps in week 14. So maybe the 14 targets was just such an anomaly. Because we saw Keon Coleman come back and he led all wide receivers in terms of snaps last week. So you had Matt Collins and Khalil Shakir playing 77 and 78%. And then all of a sudden, Keon Coleman comes back after missing 4 weeks, and the bye, and instantly just slots right in at the X and plays 63% of snaps and has the touchdown there. So I guess if you're just looking at last week and you're like, hey, who would be my favorite skinny stack relative to ADP, because Shakir will go more and Kincaid will go more, despite Dawson Knox still playing more snaps than him last week and him being a part-time tight end in a receiving role. Yeah, man, it does look like Keon Coleman in terms of utilization score. But yeah, the Ty Johnson stuff, I'm not reading like crazy into them using like 3 running backs and a fullback last week. I mean, it's still Cook for me, but like I know Ray Davis and Ty Johnson both had good games, but when you play this many like offensive plays, it's kind of like you're gonna have to rotate bodies, especially at tempo, right? So not reading like crazy into it, but as we talked about on the review show on Monday, it was a lot of like, hey, we know the Lions play man coverage. We know how to diagnose like we know how to diagnose man coverage by motioning the running back out. It just it made too much sense to use them. Would I like to see James Cook utilized more in that pass catching role and that motion stuff than Ty Johnson, who had 100 and whatever yards receiving? Absolutely. But, from a real life football perspective, like you just need fresh bodies, right? All right. Let's go. Yeah. Okay. Jags Raiders. This is gonna be an interesting one because people are gonna want to get to basically the Raiders. I will only touch the Raiders if we get AOC. We talked about it with the Primetime Palooza slate on Monday that it was like if we get Ritter, it's skinny stacks only, most likely with the tight end, and it is or running him naked, right? AOC is the one that I feel comfortable with, and that ran its course on Monday night there, where the Raiders didn't complete a pass. I think it was, I can't remember which show I was listening to. This is not my own information, regurgitating someone smarter than me. But the Raiders didn't complete a pass to a wide receiver until garbage time, like with Desmond Ritter. Like it was bad, right? And then obviously we saw Sincere McCormick get hurt in that one. Then it was the rotation between Madison and Amir Abdullah. Amir Abdullah scores the receiving touchdown. Yeah, I will be kind of soft fading Brock Bowers at his current ADP right now until we know we get AOC, right? He was game time decision, 3 DNPs last week. Going to be monitoring the practice report in a big way, but I will be prioritizing Trey McBride or a scroll the F down tight end over Brock Bowers until we know we're getting AOC because it looked bad. And if we do get AOC, this could low key be slop it up fest of the week. Why can't AOC concentrated with Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers and lack of running game now that Sincere McCormick is most likely going to be out? Why can't we get what we saw last week in Jets versus Jags, right? So I don't know. Jags obviously the best matchup on paper for opposing offenses through the air, right? So yeah, I will be playing some gross Raiders stuff if we get AOC. If we do not get AOC, I will be greatly under the field on anything Raiders related. On the Jaguars side, man, Brian Thomas Jr. is an absolute fucking baller. Shout out to us for getting the pick'em home last week by just cranking him all the way up to as high as Underdog would let us go with 100 yards there. Mac Jones looking every bit serviceable. Evergreen reminder that the boys talked me off the absolute L word of the week there in Mac Jones completions, courtesy of Unabated. And we didn't use that one in the core. Wouldn't have mattered, but just gotta get my shots in while they're not here. No idea what to expect from the Jags backfield. I think it's untouchable even in the 12s. I thought we saw a flip inning. I thought we were going to see more Tank Bigsby, and they were in a leading script at one point there, and it wasn't Bigsby. And they were down at the goal line, and it wasn't Bigsby. Again, they went back to the ETN stuff. ETN is clearly the preferred pass catching back. I don't think we can touch either of them in this. Brenton Strange as a scroll the F down tight end seems good. Seems good. What was it? 10 catches last week. He was stone cold chalk on Redacted. Yeah, big athletic tight end that they spent good draft capital on. A guy that tested well out of Penn State. I'm fine thinking Mac Jones is serviceable enough to distribute in this game environment to get to Brian Thomas Jr., to get to Brenton Strange. I would rather play the Jags side of the game than the Raiders side of the game at this moment in time. That will probably flip on Friday if we get full practice AOC, or LP, FP, AOC. I might flip my mindset on that one. All right. Jason chiming in here says, as a Seahawks fan, I'm sad to say the Vikings should be favored by 2 scores. Oh, as a fellow Seahawks enjoyer, not a full-fledged laundry bro, it pains me as well. I don't know. Weird shit happens with the Seahawks at home, man. All right. Dolphins, Niners. Niners are almost all but eliminated here. But they do have like a glimmer of hope, leave the light on if they can win out and other teams falter, that sort of thing. So I think this is their last like full go. Here's some good context. Gino looks like he's gonna play. Okay, so that was something we were wishy-washy on before. Thank you for that, Andrew. Okay, Niners and Dolphins. This is interesting. Dolphins offense was going burr for a minute, even in the cold temperatures of Lambeau Field. And then they play a playoff team in the Texans who have one of the best defensive lines and best pass rushes in all of football. I think number 2, according to the ETR metrics, something like that. I think the Steelers were still number 1 for a bit there. And the Dolphins go up against them, missing their 2 best tackles. And it leads to 3-2 interceptions. It leads to sacks and beatdowns and ball out quickly and this sort of thing. I will be paying really close attention this week to the injury report for both the Niners and the Dolphins on their left tackle status, because the left tackles in Armstead and in Trent Williams will be like the splits with those 2 players. I'm not sure there's as meaningful offensive linemen to offensive production splits than those 2 offensive linemen are to their teams. I'm sure someone could go deep down the rabbit hole and find something comparable. But in the last 2 years, in the games in which those 2 players have missed comparative to when they are in, offenses go burr versus offenses go bust. So those are 2 really important ones that I will be looking at. More concerned about it from the Dolphins side than I am from the Niners side, because it's been 2.5 weeks without him right now. 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks without Trent Williams right now. And Isaac Grendo has kind of still survived. But yeah, in terms of playability on both sides here, Achane, fine, but not amazing. Tyreek Hill, fine, but not amazing. Hayden had some really interesting expected fantasy points stats that he's actually like underperforming expected fantasy point, or he's been a perennial underperformer of expected fantasy points. And this year he's not scoring any fucking fantasy points and he's overperforming his expectation, which is really scary for a guy that we used to think go burr. Yeah, man, they have to start stretching the field. This is crazy. It's all this underneath yak stuff. It's all this dink and dunk stuff. They have to start stretching the field and utilizing Tyreek's speed downfield. And that'll be harder and harder to do if we get no Jalen Waddle this week. Jalen Waddle got banged up last week, left the game, did not return. He's going to have the Q tag all week here. Probably not going to love much Miami stuff this week. Niners stuff, I think Isaac Grendo is one of the better scroll the F downs right now. He is not going in every single draft. It is a medium scroll in the Battle Royale streets right now in the 6-person drafts, because he is like RB 13 or something like that. But the Grendo one, to me, that one stands out. Our guy Len Keith, aka Keith, adding some context. Grendo no practice today. Yeah, Patrick Taylor as the scroll. Yeah, probably. I'm not overly concerned about the Grendo no practice because he did go DNP all last week for before the Thursday night game. Now they get an extended break. Now he gets a first day DNP. If he gets LP tomorrow, I'll be totally fine with it and not questioning anything. If he goes DNP again tomorrow, then I think we can start having the conversation. So maybe you don't have to scroll there just yet, but it's just one that's on my radar as a potential scroll. Master Y asking if I like the Jerome Ford stuff this week. I think Jerome Ford showed that juice. He showed that burst in garbage time last game there when they were in trailing game script, and he broke off that 70 whatever yard run, 60, 70 yard run there. I think he's got the juice. I think they'll use him in the passing game. The problem is the touchdown equity goes down significantly with DTR at quarterback and DTR's ability to rush in and around the goal line because he was a rushing quarterback. I've seen some smart people, aka the theater, who won last week's Battle Royale, draft Jerome Ford in the 6th round already. Not for me. Won't be me. If he beats me with Jerome Ford this week, hat tip and move on. It's like him taking my fastball deep, just tip your cap and move on. Shout out to Copper Prices. Shout out to Awin. Shout out to Johnny Footballs rolling through saying what up. Appreciate you guys. That's it for the unabated game by game. Any other questions or any other thoughts or any other inquiries, just drop them in the chat there. Let's go through the ADP stuff. Let's jump over to the platform of people there. We're still looking at Bears stuff. I talked about poking holes in the upper echelon of ADP here. Man, do I like these 3 wide receivers this week. I really like the Chase. I like the Jefferson. I like the Puka. I think I might like the Puka a little bit more than I like the Jefferson, just because of overarching game environment and some maybe potential weather concerns in Seattle with rain there. Gibbs is probably going to project as RB1. Saquon, I'm anticipating a Q tag, so I've moved him down a little bit, kind of ranked it like this to start, which means soft fade Josh Allen, which would be scary as fuck for the 3rd week in a row. But it's just a leverage game against the shit that we play here. I've not learned my lesson, so I will probably be mixing in Josh Allen as I did last week. I said soft fade, but when I mean soft fade, I mean I still end up with like 9% Josh Allen, right? Like I take him at a discount, some stuff like that. Respooked asking about Njoku. I'm going to be basically completely out on the Browns with DTR this week. Maybe in the 12-person drafts in the goal line stand, but I'm most likely going to be out. Do I think Njoku will probably be the better of the pass catching plays to play from the Browns this week? Yes. If we get, full practice midweek, Njoku, I think he's fine in the 6 persons as a little bit of a, last round tight end, that sort of thing. I think he's fine when you're juxtaposing him to the Hunter Henrys of the world and maybe the Zach Ertzes of the world. If we end up getting Zach Ertz this week, when you're making that comparison, I think it'll be okay. But I will be playing as little amount of the Browns as I can this week, particularly in the 6 persons. And then I think when we get the projections and stuff like that, I think both Chase Brown and James Conner will be popping in this regard, and then Trey McBride as well. Something like this is kind of how I'll rank it, and then I'll start getting into the Amon-Ra, the Kyron, that. So that's kind of my initial read on how ADP is going to shake out and how I like it. I imagine Josh Allen will still stay up for a while just because, he's Josh Allen and he's broken back-to-back slates and he could very well break this one. So I do think he'll stay up in this regard. Okay. Let's do quarterback position here. Some of the scroll targets. People are going to be jumping up and down to take Michael Penix because there's 2 Atlanta pieces going in the front end of draft boards, and people are going to want to play the shiny new toy and that sort of thing. I probably won't play it this week. I do like, the uncapped potential upside of this is the mystery box. It could be anything. Yeah, but I probably won't play a ton of it. I would rather play Anthony Richardson this week. I'm gonna play a little bit of Caleb stuff, as I alluded to there. Drake May, you could do worse to push game environment there. If you just wanted to run a skinny stack of him and Henry, that is probably more geared towards the 12-person drafts. But I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world. As I alluded to early there, I will be going back to the Burrow well, and I will be going back to the Kyler skinny stack well there. And then, yeah, that'll probably be the majority of kind of like my scrolls in the player pool. I think Aaron Rodgers will get overplayed this week because of what happened last week. But if you want to do the Aaron Rodgers double stack, I would probably do it in small field stuff, or I would do it in the 12 person. I probably wouldn't do it in the main BR. That's just kind of like my initial reactions. Running back position, crazy to think that like Jonathan Taylor with this 31 ADP, Aaron Jones in a good spot with the 32 ADP. Like these ones are going to be looking nice. When projections come out, this kind of like tier, this Taylor, Jones, Hubbard, Garendo tier is going to look nice. We alluded to if we don't get the Tony Pollard or we get bad injury report stuff on the Tony Pollard stuff, I will be scrolling to find myself some Tajay Spears, who's way the F down here. Thought it looked nice last week. The jumping touchdown at the goal line. He ended up with 24 fantasy points. That's 6 for 87 and 1 in the receiving game. Was beautiful. Helped a lot of best ball teams there. So that's one that stands out to me. And then the Seattle stuff, not a great spot, but if nobody's getting to it, and we've seen what they are able to do just on talent alone when they have the backfield to themselves. If it's both of them active, I won't touch it. If it's one of them active, I will just play that one as a scroll on Sunday morning. If I'm taking one right now, I would take Walker with the Q tag and then swap off of it if he gets, ruled inactive there. I think the Swift rule is undeniable at this point. And if you want to play a little bring back off of the Detroit stuff, you could do worse than playing Swift if we get no Roschon. The touchdown equity comes down in a big way if we get Roschon. So that one's kind of scary there. Some of the scrolls at the wide receiver position, as we alluded to, the JSN one, it's not a monster scroll. The Addison one, those two were jumping off, but they're going to be, decently drafted. If you get AOC, Jacoby Myers definitely comes into play. Nobody will want to go squeaky wheel on the Marv Harrison or on the Amari Cooper, but I could go squeaky wheel on both of them there. I'm done with Debo, guys. I won't do it. I'll do the Juwan Jennings skinny stack with I'll do Juwan Jennings and or George Kittle skinny stack with Brock Purdy once or twice this week. But that's about it there. I think you could do worse than doing like a Downs Pittman plus Richardson one. I think you could definitely do worse than that. Yeah. And then maybe you could do like a Carolina piece. Just knowing that you're going to take away Leggett from that offense there. And it looks like decently concentrated. If we look at the snaps there, 85% for Adam Thielen, 87% for Jalen Coker. Jalen Coker showing the explosive stuff last week there. If you wanted to do like a Jalen Coker bring back as a contrarian, scroll the F down in the 6 persons or, probably more notably in the 12s. There, you could do worse for sure. Atlanta's going to be hard to do like auxiliary pass catchers, having not seen Michael Penix. But if you did like a Mooney one-off or something like that to get leverage off of the fact that Bijan and London go every single draft and just bet on game environment, I respect it. Tight end looks pretty strong at the upper echelon with these kind of like 5 right now, as I alluded to, trying to get over on McBride yet again. The touchdowns eventually have to happen, right? But the role is just so strong. 10 targets, 14 targets, 12 targets, 9 catches, 7 catches, 12. They're playing for their season this week, and they're going up against one of the worst defenses in all of football. So, yeah, that's something I want to get to. The Njoku thing, as everybody alluded to in the chat, DTR loves them, and there's definitely worse scrolls for sure. I'm fine with it. Hawkinson feels fine. Strange feels fine. Zach Ertz, if he ends up going, you got a little bit of revenge game narrative. You got the incentives narrative. You got the fact that he scored a touchdown last week. Or actually, no, he dropped a touchdown on the hit last week. Is that what it was when he got knocked out? But, we've seen this concussion protocol stuff that basically nobody plays the same week after the concussion until the postseason when they magically clear up and concussions are curable in the postseason. So I'm not anticipating Zach Ertz this week, which means, if someone wants to go the Ben Sinnott route as a scroll the F down in a skinny stack with Jaden Daniels in the 12 persons, sure, but won't be for me. Yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. I will be high on the tight end stuff, like on the upper tight ends in third round early in the week before they push up, because I imagine they're going to push up as the projections come out relative to some of these things. I will be doing, kind of stars and scrubs at the running back position. I'll be prioritizing some of these upper echelon wide receivers. And then the quarterbacks, I'm happy to scroll this week, but just kind of medium scrolls thus far. Did I say why I was off Ford? I don't know. I get it from like a season long perspective. I get it. Like he's going to be a hot pickup and people want to play shiny new toy, and he's fast. He has some explosive ability, like that sort of deal. It's just not the greatest spot in the world. Yeah, we like the Coker one, the Washington one a little bit. Yeah, more of a Chevy guy myself. Perfectly articulated. Turbotron, what up? Mr. Good Boy's hanging out. Yeah, Mr. Good Boy is always around. Let's rip some drafts. Let's have some fun. Let's rip one or two of these and then try and get a goal line stand filled here and talk through it on the fly. I did 5 of them thus far. 2 when the contest opened, 3 more this morning. All hand builds that I was talking through, or thinking through on the fly there. Yeah, cool. All right, we got no friends and family. Holy smokes. Say what up if you happen to be in this draft with us right now, but no screen names in which I recognize, though I will give a shout out to She Digs the Chubb with Stephon Diggs' name and Nick Chubb's name utilized within it. That one belongs on a leaderboard somewhere. That one belongs on the hashtag list. Jeff digging some more golf here. We'll do some more golf. I promise we will fight through some more golf in the future here, but not today. Not today. Today is going to be a little bit tighter. Get a couple drafts in here. Try and keep it to like the 140-ish mark. It's kind of hard to talk for like 2 hours. I've been doing a couple solos in a row here, and it's tough, man. It's tough. I really miss the back and forth banter of a differentiating opinion, and Nez and I tend to have a lot of differentiating opinions, which is good, healthy for the show. Oh, we need the FedEx Cup standings back up. Oh, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. Yesterday on the paywall there, if people are interested in some groundbreaking golf takes, there it is. Actually, there was some good meta. Okay, here's your meta on the golf. I will find the tweet in 1 second. Because Pat Mayo's guest, sorry, I don't remember his name right now, on the show that we were alluding to, Byron. I will bring up this tweet after we make these 2 picks. Yeah, I like pushing up Bijan there, man. I like the Bijan roll this week. I don't think they come in and they protect Michael Penix the same way in which they did with Kirk Cousins, but I do think they recognize that they're fighting for the division. They're 7-7. All they need is the Bucs to lose and them to win, and this division is going to be up for grabs kind of deal. I still like Chase as 101 here. Keep an eye on the Cincinnati weather. I think it should be fine. But yeah, just as we go throughout the week, couple spots might creep up in the weather department there. I really like the right-hand side of the board right now. I'm going to put Puka with it. I think Puka could easily be WR2 this week here. The role is so effing solid. He is an absolute beast, and they're fighting for the division, so it's going to be balling out time. Rams feel like a really nice smash spot this week. I do think it's like a really clear like top 10. If you guys roll the film back and go to where I just kind of laid out that top 10, that's kind of like my top 10. And then I kind of start scrolling. So, I mean, kind of after this Amon-Ra is gone and Trey McBride is gone here, then I'll kind of like start thinking about it in terms of like where I'll go. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you laugh at Bucks losing to Dallas, but like, I don't know. Dallas is playing some inspiring football right now, but Bucks look every bit an offensive juggernaut right now. What they did to the Chargers last week was very, very impressive. I mean, weird things happen in football, Jeff. Weird things happen in football. Now, do I think the Bucks will lose? No, obviously not. But yeah, it'd be interesting to look ahead at. Let's look ahead at Atlanta for a half second here. So Atlanta is 7-7, and they get the Giants this week. They get the Panthers in week 18, which could be like just the little cakewalk. And then they get the Commanders, which is a tough one in week 17 there. So, I mean, I wouldn't completely write them off yet. They're only one game back. I don't know who holds the tiebreaker because I don't remember who won those head-to-heads. That might be just like an interesting to think through there. But Bucks, what do we got? Bucks got Cowboys, Panthers, Saints. Yeah, that's a cakewalk schedule to close. So Bucks are in a smash spot from here on out. So I guess their most losable game would either be Dallas or Carolina. But yeah, Justin saying that the Falcons hold it. Okay, so that's good to know. That's good to know just in terms of your guys' playoff contest when you're looking for those scroll the F down backstacks too. Now, I think it's thin, obviously, but we did one of those gauntlet drafts yesterday on stream, and we did a little Bijan plus London skinny stack to close it out. Team's probably dead, but you could do worse, right? I'm thinking of a player. Hoping he falls here. All right, there we go. So this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier that I really like is playing the Rams through Kyren plus Puka or Kyren plus Cup and just kind of encapsulating that condensed offense in a good spot in a not must-win game for them, but basically must-win game for them for, in terms of playoff aspirations as they lead that division. And then you get two of the best wide receiver plays on the slate, and then we'll find our scrolls. We will find our scrolls, either it be at the tight end position and the second running back position here, because I am gravitating more so towards the 1-2-2-1 builds in the 6-person contest right now. Okay, so James Cook feels good. Obviously, like just to click it at ADP, kind of unfortunate that Burrow goes stacked up with T there. So I think we got to give ourselves an out at another stack. I like the Purdy stuff more than I would like some other stuff. We could do Laporta and like Goff. Let's do it. Let's scroll to Laporta here. Gives us another stacking out there. Could have done Kittle and given us an out at Purdy as well. Or we could go with like a running back. We could go with a running back quarterback skinny stack, but you would probably need like one of like the pass catching variety to make it make sense. Could have gone really scrolly there and done James Cook. Here, here's what I could have done and should have done as a potential big scroll. Because like these first 3 targets, like Stone Cold Chalk, going to be in every single draft. They're going to be 3 of my favorite plays. Here would have been the Galbrain scroll. You take the James Cook fall in quotations at 20 there, right? Although he is still falling in this room. But you take James Cook there at 20, and then you run it back with Hunter Henry, Drake May. That would have been nasty. That would have been your scroll the F down. Here's a fun one. Kyler and Connor, QB running back. That's a fun one. Just drafted a Darnold double. I think I shut it down there for the week. That's the winner. Respect it. Yeah, someone finally took Mathology's advice to just draft it and then shut it down. Hey, shout out to DFS King. There, I saw a really nice pick'em from you last night. Took down what was it, almost $1,000, something like that. Mad respect. Had a lot of fun hanging out in Dallas with you, man. Is Benson playing? No, I think no Benson, no DiMarcado. So yes, this is something we talked about in the preview with the Arizona stuff. There is, it does feel full go for the Connor stuff. Prices waits until right before lock. He needs all the information. Okay, so we could do Laporta, Goff, and then we could double stack it and do like Jameson Williams or something like that. Don't hate it, but I do kind of want to stick to my guns here. Okay, let's take the Goff piece first. Don't do this at home. It's just because we got 7 seconds on the clock. Don't take a quarterback when the player on the end already has a quarterback, yada, yada. Okay, don't do that. Let's think this through. I think we got to find a scroll at the running back position. I like building 1-2-2-1 in these contests. I think you could run a bring back. I wouldn't want it to be a Jets running back. I'm kind of off the Ford stuff. To make this lineup look pretty, you could maybe do the DeAndre Swift stuff there. Just a scroll that not a lot of people are going to play. But I do think his touchdown equity is very hinging upon whether Roschon Johnson plays or not. Isaac Guerrero, probably my favorite click in a vacuum right here. But we did get the no practice today. We could do Ken Walker and stay on the clock, as we like to say, with the Q tag, and then swap it to someone who's going to project better later in the week, or swap it to Sharbs if Walker can't go because Sharbs isn't going to go in this draft. He takes Guerrero away from us, which is kind of unfortunate because I think it was my favorite click. The Tajay Spears stuff, I'm not going to quit it. I'm not going to give up on that this week, as that I think that's going to be one of Pete's favorite gems when we get DNP Tony Pollard this week. Let's do the Chuba stuff. Let's talk about the Chuba rule for a hot second here. He played 95% of snaps last week. Jonathan Brooks done for the year. Blackshear didn't come back. Not that it would matter. Mike Boone was the backup. 5% of snaps played. 95% of snaps for the Chuba rule. Chuba had 4 targets last week. Red zone opportunities for Chuba Hubbard on his own team. 49. The next closest player with red zone opportunities on the Carolina Panthers, who we have labeled as frisky right now due to their recent performances, is Deontay Johnson with 11. When they get to the red zone and it's scoring time, it's Chuba Hubbard time. And if that Arizona game environment is going to get pushed, Chuba Hubbard. People want me to take Walker. People want me to take Jones. We like a Connor plus Chuba stack. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Both catch passes. Play that game environment. I like it. GM. Gio McCaffrey rolling through. Kevin talking about the Tyreek tweet that was circulating earlier today. It's time for me to go, coach. I saw a funny breakdown. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was like I can't even attribute it to who it was, but I saw it scroll across the timeline there, and the way you put the commas or the periods in this sentence can just change it so drastically. Just does it allude to him leaving? Does it allude to him going Burr this weekend? Does it allude to, based on the punctuation? Aaron suggesting as soon as the ETR projections come out this afternoon, or this evening rather, that Chuba's going to shoot way up. Fully agree. What up, Svi? Svi, we will be doing some baseball stuff soon. Don't you worry, my friend. Don't you worry. Let's get through the football season here. Get to the new year. Watch Stacking Dingers. Watch the Sheep Seats. Shout out to Sheep, who gave me a nice t-shirt at the Dog Bowl there with the Sheep Sheets. Haven't worn it on stream yet because I'm full-fledged hoodie weather right now. Let's do another BR. 4 more seats. Him coaching his 10 kids teams. Love it. The Antonio Cromartie of my generation. Tyreek Hill. Didn't Tyreek Hill get engaged this year? Didn't he get engaged and then meanwhile he had multiple kids as well? He also said that he wanted to be a porn star when it was all said and done. Real interesting cat. Here we go. We got some friends and family in this one. We got Kevin here. We got the PNBC. We got Jump Free, who won the pick and roll the other night. Shout out. Davis Maddock, who's always hanging out. The legend that is. You always got to look. You always got to look to see if it's Davis or if you see if it's Maddock Davis. Like Maddock. Fuck. See, I would screw up the screen name there too, because he was hanging out in the paywall one yesterday, and the Goat Hop Grower. Yeah, here you go. Perfectly eluded by copper prices here. All right, I'm gonna pass on this Saquon stuff. I know what I said about them playing for the division, them playing for the bye. It could be a nice Saquon spot. I'm a little scared about the injury right now. I'm scared about the Q tag. I'll encapsulate some falling value later with him. All right, let's do this. Let's flip the board. Let's take Jamar Chase at 1. Jamar Chase is going for the records. They have a glimmer of leave the light on for playoff hope implications. The pass rate's going to project well. I like it. Now, if we get a limited practice tomorrow from Saquon and it doesn't look like a big deal, this is probably going to age poorly. Gun to my head, ETR projections come out tonight, and who is the highest projecting player on the slate? I would say the 3 highest projecting players on the slate: Jamar Chase, Jahmyr Gibbs, Puka Nacua. 3 highest projecting. I think Chase Brown will be up there. I think Saquon will be up there as well. I think Chuba is going to shock the world. I think James Conner's ADP is already rising because people are anticipating it, but he's going to project so well this week. Trey McBride will project as a top 7 play, top 8 play, but won't be drafted as such. It's time for me to go coach. That cracked me up. Well done. Well done, my friend. Oh, is Davis? So I'm being told that I'm gonna lose to the Sims right now. The S words. So Davis is currently streaming as well. There we go. Actually, speaking of which, we got to compete with all these guys out of here. We got to compete with Davis out here all the time. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Back tomorrow. We got 200 of us hanging out. Love to see it. Appreciate you being here. Carving out some time in your day. I like the Trey McBride stuff. I like the Kyron stuff. Let's do it. Easy game. Easy money. I think one of the most common pairings that's going to happen is like some form of start from the 1-0-1 that incorporates a running back, a running back, another player, and Trey McBride or Brock Bowers. And then this skinny stack seems to come back every single time. Terry McLaurin, Jaden McDaniels. I wonder what the propensity of people playing Jaden McDaniels without Terry is, and vice versa, relative to the S words. I don't know. Never respects the time slot. The guy's hustling, man. I can't fault Davis for hustling. He's always streaming. He's always grinding. But yes, never respects the time slot. Why no NBA tonight? Yeah, that's a great question. NBA gave us some weird stuff this week. So obviously last night, actually that's a good reminder for season-long NBA. Last night's game doesn't count. There's no official stats of last night's game. It is the one-off finals game in the season. It's like the one extra game to play for that cup. For anyone who's concerned about that sort of thing. But yeah, NBA, one big day off today, and then 13 games tomorrow, and then Friday's another short slate after 13 games. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what the NBA is doing, but I think they kind of staggered it and set it all up because of the NBA Cup, and then they set it all up for the big Christmas slate and that sort of thing. And then we're going to get some crazy slates in January of like 9, 10 back-to-back nights and teams littered with back-to-backs and Q tags. It's going to be a wild NBA January, February, I imagine. All right. Goat Hop Grower getting that Jalen Hurts plus AJ Brown on the right-hand side of the board. A little bit of a GM there to get Jalen Hurts falling to 18. I mean, sometimes we just got to put the projections away and we got to put our dunce caps on and just say like Jalen Hurts go Burr. And like last week was one of those. Obviously, Josh Allen broke the slate, but like Jalen Hurts was going undrafted at points last week. And it was because everybody was like, oh, they're favorites and Saquon's going to run away with this game. And Saquon projects as like the high end guy. And then what happens? 2 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown for Jalen Hurts. It didn't win you the slate, but definitely, it got me to cash 2 DeBomb teams. Right. So just something to always think through. All right. So we get this decision, right? As I alluded to, this Terry plus Jaden McDaniels comes back like every single time. I think we're going to take the Burrow stuff here, and then we're going to start scrolling. Jerry Jeudy's ADP is going to be fake. I just don't see how he stays up here with DTR at the quarterback position. I'm aping in on some of this Rams stuff, as I alluded to. I like it. So I'm going to scroll down and take Cooper Kupp here. Not scared of the goose egg from last week. And then we are going to find a running back, most likely, as I scroll the F down to go with this. So we will see how this one plays out. You could do like Garrett Wilson as like a bring back off of it. We could do something with like the Trey McBride stuff. I think you guys know who that player would be. But yeah. D. Will's doing a draft right now where he's in the 1-0-1, where he took Saquon and Bowers and Adams, and then Daniels McLaurin comes right back to him for the stack. Yep, 100%, man. Knowing your patterns is a big edge. Man, St. Adam Silver's thinking too much. That's why ratings are down. I don't know why ratings are down in the NBA, to be honest. I know Nez went on kind of like a spiel about that, but yeah, I think NBA did a really good job about promoting through social and going international and making their stars superstars, like leveling up, showcasing their talent. I think MLB could learn a lot from what the NBA did. But yes, NBA scheduling has gotten to a point where it's a little too focused on nationally televised games, on staggering their schedule to perfectly fit holidays and Friday night time slots and that sort of thing. But I don't know. MLB and NHL could probably still learn a lot from what the NBA did. But I do think the NBA kind of, a little bit of a peak and then a little bit of a valley in recent memory. Maybe that's a tail off of I don't know, overturn in stars. I don't know. GM, the Goat Hop grower, drafted out of the 6 hole there. And a nice little fall on that stack. Kev getting a fall of Achan in the 4th there. Yeah, I don't love the Achan stuff, but I don't think he should be going in the 4th. Wow, I didn't even realize that Davis already took Chuba. So he's wise to it. He is wise to the hashtag models and what's going to happen. So that was going to be one of my, late scroll ones there, but they're obviously talking about the S words, and the S words are loving the projection associated with the Chuba stuff. So Chuba's going to be a smash click, and he takes Matt Stafford, which nope. No S words. Nope, guys, come on. I just don't see the ceiling with it. I don't see the ceiling. We talked about that. Like, we love that game. We love getting to that game. I think there's contrarian paths to that game. I'd be really interested to roll the film back and ask why they like the Stafford. I think you're way better off taking Jaden Daniels as a one-off there. Taking Anthony Richardson, something like that. There's the Aaron Rodgers with Devontae Adams skinny stack. Like it a little bit more. Scared about the Garendo practice, definitely. But I do think this is going to be a Garendo team. Brian Robinson, also a nice little scroll. Let's scroll to Brian Robinson. Obviously not a good matchup. Obviously Philly's been good against the ground thus far. But he had his best usage of the season last time out. You know what? I can't do it. I was trying to convince myself. I like the Garendo stuff. I like the Garando stuff. Garando has been my 6th round pick thus far. I like it. Mason Rudolph lighten up the Colts with Calvin Ridley. I mean, they had a big game together earlier this season. 2-touchdown game for Calvin Ridley. A garbage time touchdown that won someone a dog bowl seat. I could see that happening. Why not? All right, goal line stand. Let's fill it. Let's do 1 goal line stand, call it a show. 3 more people. 3 more people. I'm going to look at some of the unabated stuff. I know I said something that I wanted to do, potentially some pick'em stuff. I think it's really hard to do some pick'em stuff before, projections and injury reports and line movement and that sort of thing. But I will take a little peek here at what potential NFL pick'em stuff we could do. I think the Chuba one probably stands out right away. I guess we're just trying to find some form of CLV in the pick'em lobbies. I will sift through the pick'em lobbies on the side as we do this. Yeah. Yes, sorry, my friend Turbotron. No puck today. But the slate is getting run back, guys. 15K total prizes. Hashtag make it bigger again today. 50 max in the Wednesday wraparound. And they're running it back with the $25 empty netter. It looks like they've already filled 1 empty netter. All right, let's go away from the Saquon stuff. We did the Jamar Chase stuff last time. Should we do a Gibbs 101 team? It feels bad. Let's do it. Fuck it. Let's do it. It feels bad knowing that third round Gibbs exists out there in the ethos, but let's do it. Let's see if we could build out something intelligent with Gibbs. Maybe this is a true ball knowers scroll the F down draft. Shout out Eggers is in here. Cowboys is in here. Unfortunate he didn't come to the Dog Bowl. Yeah, I wonder in the goal line stands where Jahmyr Gibbs was going. Probably not as drastic in the goal line stands. Probably in the back end of the first round, early second round. So I guess by taking Gibbs at the 101, you're just flipping the board. That's not bad. That's not bad. Who else we got in here? Our guy Len Keith's in here. Respook's in here. A-Win's in here. The Goat Hop Grower is in here again. Patrick Barnes YouTube. Shout out to the Dog Bowl second place. That R. McKiernan. That looks familiar. Chase Brown going pretty early now. Yeah, we need another banger pick 'em like the Adams, Brian Thomas Jr. one. Absolutely, we'll find one. We'll find one. We'll find one later. Maybe we'll have to wait till off and on the clock to do so. I really hate making pick'ems early in the week that are hingent upon the status of a player. You know, because so much of the closing line value stuff that we're looking for is hinging upon like a Q tag or something like that. So if I was to come out here and like suggest like, you know, some Seattle backfield one, and then all of a sudden we get, you know, the news breaks the wrong way in our speculation. The Seattle stuff's not even listed, so you can't even take it right now. But yeah, just thinking through some stuff like that. That's kind of fun. Okay. I see you, Keith. I see you. All right. Trey McBride hasn't scored a receiving touchdown this year. Why not score two? There's no Trey McBride sliders up. Only Trey McBride yardage right now at 64.5. Seems low. I guess if we were going to do something, we could go to that Panthers game. Not much, guys. Not much. This is another reason why it's hard to do early in the week, you know? Wow. James Conner, 80.5 rushing yards. Not combined yardage, 80.5 rushing yards. Wow. Chuba, 65.5. Trey, 64.5. No sliders yet. No sliders. Yeah, I agree with you. It's what we talked about in the game by game, man. Roll it back. I said the same thing. If we get AOC in that game environment, that could be the slop it up fest of the week. That could be the slop it up. Get your Mr. Good Boys in the chat. He knows what time it is. Kyron goes already. Was kind of hoping we could get a Kyron fall, but that was probably wishful thinking, right? We got the Gibbs one here thus far. See what our guy Eggers does here. T. Higgins putting squatters right on that Joe Burrow fall. London, that one seems fine. We could do Laporta and set up like a full Detroit thing. But I do like Cooper Kupp. And I do like Chuba. So let's do Chuba. Let's do Cooper Kupp. And then I'm finding a way to land this plane. And I already alluded to it earlier as to how I think in the 12 persons I would like to land this plane, that I don't think enough people will play this week because they're scared. Let's see if we can get away with it. All right, guys, do me a favor. There's like 200 of us. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, notification bell. If you happen to be on the X side, hop on over to the YouTube side. Give us a sub. Just crossed 3,000 subs. Kind of fun. Kind of a little bit of a milestone. Thought we'd be higher by now. But I guess when you do so many different sports and you're all underdog focused, that it's kind of tough for the algorithm to suss through. And not everybody, cares about our baseball takes or our basketball takes and only cares about football or vice versa. So sometimes it's kind of hard to parse through. But I'm going to run 2 shows tomorrow. I'm going to do basketball. Going to be a fun, big slate. I imagine Underdog's going to break it into, we can look at it right now, but I imagine Underdog's going to break it into 2. I can see how it sets up right now. Every time I look up the NBA schedule, like the default, how there's like a default URL when you like punch in schedule, it goes to like January 29th of like last year. It's kind of crazy. It's so weird. So the 2 late games, Denver, Lakers, Portland, Sacramento. Wow, that's a lot of fucking talent to take off the slate. So you could do a 4-game slate. Indiana, Phoenix, New York, Minnesota, Denver, LA, Sacramento. And then you could do a main slate that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games that has OKC. So you would have SGA. You would have Tatum. You would have Curry, Trey, Wemby, Harden, Luka. Yeah, that's how you do it. All right. Petition. Here you go. Petition to Hope and Numi and the good powers that be at Underdog. We have 2 TNT nationally televised games tomorrow. Let's put them on separate slates. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so a 9 p.m. tip for the Dunking After Dark here. This would be a really fun 4-game slate. You get pace up Lakers versus pace up Kings. You get Jokic on the slate. You get condensed New York narrative versus Minnesota. Revenge games all over the place. And then you get this pace up spot. And you get one of them nationally televised. So 4-game slate from 9 p.m. Eastern onward. Then you get a 9-game slate from lock through here, and there's enough star power in the first round to carry that slate. Because you don't need AD, Joker, Sabonis, Durant, Booker, like that sort of stuff, because you have enough with Wemby, Luka, Harden, Tatum, SGA. That's how you do it. You heard it here first, Numi, at support Underdog. 9-game slate, 4-game slate. Drop them all at the same time. That'd be fucking epic. That would be epic. Be a big fan of that. All right, let's check back in, see what's going down in this draft. Isaac Garendo at 36 there. DJ Moore goes already, which is unfortunate for us because that was our backdoor plan here with the Detroit stuff. But we could still do it. We could still execute it. Tyreek Hill at pick 42. Just wild to see Jacoby Myers going over Tyreek Hill in a vacuum, and I can't even fault it. Like if you just scroll the clock back to July and I told you that we're in a draft in the middle of December and the board just went Jacoby Myers, Tyreek Hill, Jawan Jennings, you would have called me a fucking idiot. You would have called me a liar. That's crazy. That's crazy to think, man. That is just crazy to think how this season has ran out for Miami and Tyreek Hill in particular. Never Miami. Never Miami, any sport until playoff Jimmy shows up in the middle of December one time. Drops 90 on your head. The Brenton Strange pick as tight end. What is that? Tight end 7? That seems fine. Don't mind that. Jerome Ford to Eggers. Respect it. If Goff comes back to us here, we're definitely going to have to consider it. If Kyler is there, I think we do Kyler Marv. Kyler is not there. Kyler Marv would be like really fun here. Unfortunate we didn't get that. I think Keenan Allen is definitely in play here, and I wanted to play it through the Caleb Williams angle, but DJ Moore is already gone. I think we can do Jared Goff to Gibbs and then not worry about the wide receiver or tight end. Would have won a slate last week. Why can't it win a slate this week? I think the tight end is going to be our scroll. Let's think about this. Tight end gets decimated in a hurry. Let's take Njoku. I know I said I didn't love it. DTR loves him. DTR is going to funnel targets towards him. I think we can get a very fine flex option or wide receiver 2 option in the last round compared to the tight end. Like the ceiling of David Njoku in round 5 juxtaposed to the ceiling of like Cole Kmet, who would be a bring back. Calcaterra. It does get thin in a hurry here. All right. I've talked myself into Njoku being fine in the 5th round. If Njoku full practices this week, does he move ahead of anyone though? Probably not. He just feels like a better click, right? DK Metcalf and Ken Walker in the 5th round. Down bad. Down bad. What if it's finally Debo week? Oh, God. I don't know. Debo looks so cooked. All these drops. People calling him fat on the internet. Hasn't had the same sprint scores and speed scores. That was one big thing that Hayden was hitting on before basically anybody else that I listened to in the industry. Hayden was hitting on the fact that the Niners speed as a total offense, that speed was just not there. Speed was heavily lacking. It was kind of like his soft pitch for why Isaac Garendo would be a nice, mix in or I believe even was CMC coming back at the time. But yeah, speed has just been down. Awin taking Tyrone Tracy. That's a play that I'm not going to play at all this week. It's probably fine in the 12 persons, but I would have rather taken Tony Pollard or Tajay Spears, something like that. Tyrone Tracy got jumped over in garbage time last time out, and he got jumped over early in the game where Devin Singletary ran it in at the goal line there. I mean, you get an offense that's going to be projected for like 14 points, and you're just praying for a touchdown, and you're splitting goal line usage. I won't play Tyrone Tracy this week. Calvin Ridley feels like a good click at 58 there. Marv Harrison feels like a fine click at 55. Garrett Wilson, that one stands out like a sore thumb as my favorite click at 54 in this round. Interesting that Eggers probably thought he was going to get a swap to the Ken Walker stuff, but Zach Charbonnet goes in this draft. So maybe more of a 6-person play than a 12-person's play. So we got an obese Debo narrative and a fat Keenan Allen narrative now this season. No fat shaming these guys. Ooh, the hop grower getting spicy out here. Mac Jones, Amir Abdullah. Alpha play. Alpha play. Full game stack of Raiders and Jags. Is it interesting that I prefer... Hear me out on this take. I'm workshopping it. I prefer Amir Abdullah if Desmond Ridder plays. I prefer every other play in that game, and I prefer the game environment more if AOC plays. How's that for a workshop take? There's your AOC. Okay. 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 Naked AOC. Tony Redacted. Holy. Tyrone dropping an even 10 fantasy score. Just exactly 10. Alexander Madison got a safety his first touch last game. Amir Abdullah going to be a workhorse? Amir Abdullah plus workhorse has never been a thing in the history of the NFL. We've seen it in isolated moments that he's on there for early downs and stuff like that. But workhorse is not the operative word for Amir Abdullah. He might have a little more juice than Alexander Madison these days, though. We might get my guy back here. I almost took him at the corner there. Nobody else wants him. Edgar's asking, remind me of swap order. Does the Pollard drafter get Spears or me if he sits, if Ken Walker sits? That would be you, sir. That would be you. I believe. Don't tell me you like Thielen. I might have done Thielen if we had gotten the Kyler stack. If I got the Kyler Harrison here instead of the Jared Goff plus Njoku, something like that. Oh my God. And then Jameson Williams goes there. There goes our double stack. So, all right. I was going to take Jameson Williams to double stack it up. Let's take Keenan Allen as a bring back. I think it's fine. Fat Keenan. His fantasy points, expected fantasy points, and his usage has been like pretty nice thus far. I think he could get away with taking Rome here as well. Yeah, it looks pretty thin. Grant Calcaterra as an undrafted tight end. That's probably my favorite remaining undrafted tight end. I played a little bit of Gesicki last week. I don't know. His role is only strong when T. Higgins isn't around. There's just too much overlap in the slot usage. And then when they get down to the red zone, they do use Yoshivas a good amount too. So touchdown equity looking a little thinner for Mike Gesicki, but not terrible as like a double stack tack on. Purdy goes undrafted. Stafford goes undrafted in this draft, despite Davis and the S-word bros taking him in the last draft in the 6 persons. Kind of interesting. Don't know what's right or wrong. Just think it's interesting. Caleb was going to be my cheeky stack if we didn't take the Goff stuff there. If Goff didn't come back to us, I was going to do the Caleb skinny to go alongside this. I wanted to do it with DJ Moore, but DJ Moore went on the right-hand side of the board. So we end up with Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Chuba Hubbard, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, David Njoku. Not terrible. Chuba Hubbard's going to be the highest riser this week in terms of CLV. He's going to do what Gibbs already did this week. Yeah. Henry Miller looks explosive. That's something to talk through with the 2-game slate later. He did look nice on the clips that I saw. Norris was talking about how he kind of looks like Kamara. I noted that he has the hair and the towel coming out. All right, this is one we got to keep our eye on here. Our guy Len Keith. He's saying he did the Chuba touchdown plus the Trey McBride 2 touchdowns. So we can do like some sliding of the Chuba yardage. We can do some sliding of that. Yeah. DJ Moore went in this one in the 4th round there. DJ Moore went at pick 38. I think it's fine. They designed a lot of stuff for him last week. JSN at 35, DJ Moore at 38. Kind of the same play, same player. Obviously like the JSN stuff more. Fun draft. Fun draft. Shout out to all you hanging. I'm not going full face to finish this one off. That's the end of that. The definitive preview, almost 2 hours. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Consider joining up at Unabated. They're building some fun, cool stuff for us, specifically for us, which is very cool in terms of like NBA product, of like a one-stop shop for, conditional projections coupled with lineups, coupled with fantasy point totals baked into it. That's all going to be behind the paywall. We've had some good success thus far using their Pick'em Edge creator there. I am looking through the Pick'em Edge stuff as we speak right now. Just hoop stuff that's a day out. Gonna want to wait on some news before getting some of those in. Didn't see anything that I loved for the football stuff yet. We're still waiting on Underdog to have the more expanded football stuff available to us before we make some of those. So we'll save them for off and on the clock. Jump in the scramble here. Did a couple drafts yesterday behind the paywall. If you want to check them out, they were really fun. Didn't really know what I was doing, but we were seeking volume. I'll bring up this tweet from earlier from Byron talking about projected events. We're really looking for projected events. We're looking for projected participation in tournaments there. What the hell just happened there? There you go. I'll put that tweet in the chat for everybody so that you guys can go look at that one, the Model Maniac. But basically, we're looking for as many events as we can play, but there is a maximum, a 168 max. So, you want to get as many as you can, but you still need some of those upper echelon premium talents to find events from. Anyways, I should probably follow this guy. Golf Writer of the Year. I'm a golf guy now, so I got to follow him. All right. Anyways, back to the platform. That's the thoughts. That's the thoughts on the slate. Back tomorrow. I think it's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern, but keep your eyes on it. I will throw up a couple tiles. You know what? I'll probably do 1 p.m. Eastern and do football first, hoops second, and do 2 back-to-back shows. 1 for the membies, 1 for the non-membies, probably 45 minutes for the membies, and then an hour and a bit for the hoop stuff there tomorrow. Best of luck if you guys are in the puck streets this evening. Best of luck filling your lobbies in the goal line stands and the battle royales here. I think we got some good early alpha, but a lot of news to keep our nose to the ground on. Anyways, I wish you all good pod luck as you check it out, as your accounts get flush with advancement cash here to spend in the BR lobbies. Everybody's favorite time of the show, the end. Peace.